we move to the cause and effect diagram. Okay, so this is a next level tool. So we start with the small tool, but more effective YY analysis, brainstorming. Now we are going to use both this YY analysis and cause and brainstorming in this cause and effect diagram. Let's see. See, actually we are going to see what is cause and effect diagram and when it has to be used. That is the important thing. All of you must aware of it. All of you must have knowledge about it. Knowing when to use it is very important. Okay, then only you will be able to get the maximum out of a tool and the maximum recommend which what we want. And in the cause and effect diagram is also called as fishbone diagram. So let us see why it is called as fishbone diagram in the.
Sir, can I take a second, sir?
Yes, sir.
Sir, I'll just.
Yes, Mr. Vivek. Yes.
Sorry to take you back, sir. Sir, I have a question, related to the brainstorming.
Yeah.
Wherein there was one word called as relevant people should be there.
Relevant stakeholders.
Relevant stakeholders. As a say Greenbelt, if you organize a brainstorming, is it very critical? I mean, what would be a positive error to have more people, or have a strict relevance, filter, and you may end up losing one odd important person of the, say, if it's a departmental brainstorming.
Yes.
So what is the error on the positive side? To have more people, or it is okay to lose one odd important person is also okay?
So it is a personal choice. If you have more people relevant to that particular solution, particular situation, for example, if you have more professors, definitely we can include. But if you have limited number of people, limited number of experts, then you have to go ahead with what we have. So if more experts are available for solving the problem in our organization, then we can include them. In certain organizations, in certain MNCs, they can conduct brainstorming easily because more official, more experts, more experienced people, more knowledgeable people, more subject matter experts will be available. In that case, you can include. It is not a hard and fast rule. There is no hard rule that you have to use more people or you have to use less people. But you have to have people who are relevant to that particular problem, relevant to that particular department, relevant to that particular situation. That is the first important thing which we have to follow. Then if more people can be included based on the first condition, then we can use it.
Right, understood. That means the more experienced people will be, it is better, they'll be able to contribute more productively. I got it.
Yes, very simple, sir. If you have 10 experts, I can get 10 wonderful root causes within 10 minutes. If I had 5 experts, then I will be able to get only 5 answers. Okay. So that is how you can conduct this brainstorming more effectively. More stakeholders, but the first condition has to be followed. They must have relevancy with the issue, with the organization, with the department, okay, with the particular climate, with the particular situation. Based on the first, you can increase the number, but you have to be very careful as a coordinator, as a facilitator. You have to make it sure that there is no conflict of interest or difference of opinions. So organizing the brainstorming is quite very important, because if you are having a gathering of experts, there is a possibility for this conflicts of interest, differences of opinion may arise. One will try to dominate the situation. So that has to be handled carefully. And important thing is all the causes must be jotted down in a paper so that you can move it to keep it and move it to the next level.
Ravi sir, I want to share one point.
Yeah, sir.
It's a fantastic question, right? How many people should be there in the brainstorming? So what is our goal in brainstorming? Are we trying to validate root cause? Are we trying to figure out the possible causes? First of all, you need to understand what is your goal in brainstorming. You can be in step number 7. You can be in step number 8. What is step number 7? You list all possible causes. You can have as many stakeholders as possible. Please invite only stakeholders, not irrelevant people. Irrelevant people are never stakeholders. One who is directly or indirectly affected by the problem. One who is directly or indirectly interested in the solution. He should be invited. Am I right? For example, when I want to improve the performance of the MBA students, students should be invited. Am I right? Do you think professors should also represent the meeting?
Yes.
Do you think alumni should also be invited? Come on, please.
Alumni, yes, to an extent to
Yes,
motivate.
yes, definitely to an extent. And there you can have option. You can have too many students, but not too many alumni. But their opinion is important. And do you think a recruiter should also be invited into the discussion?
Yes.
Right. So Ravi has clearly answered the question. There is no hard and fast rule, but it is our common sense. When we mix it up with our knowledge, that makes a difference in our result. And also the situation you need to understand very clearly. Suppose you have to prepare a report and submit to your boss tomorrow. Then probably you have to work with the limited boundaries. What is available within the organization. Suppose you have 1 full month of time. You can do the brainstorming slightly in an extensive manner. Try to understand every possible cause. And then, there can be more people, there can be more survey, there can be more opinion. And brainstorming can either be structured, can be unstructured. There are several possibilities. But ultimately, you have to be the best judge. Because you are responsible for the problem and you are responsible for the solution, right? So solution, the suggestion has to evolve from you, and then you can listen to many people to understand whom to be listened. All right. Yes, over to Dr. Ravi.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Siva. That is a nice explanation. Okay, now I believe everybody would have a clear picture about this brainstorming. So a simple tool can be more effective if it is used properly. So now we move to another excellent tool. So why I'm saying it is an excellent tool? Because it is designed for as per the requirement of a human brain. See, all of us like movies, pictures instead of textbooks and writings. Why? Because a human brain is designed like that. To absorb the content in a picture is more easier for a brain than to read a text. So this tool is more of a diagrammatic one, a visual treat. So you'll be able to find out all the possible root causes in a diagrammatic way, in a diagrammatic manner. It is represented in a diagram. So that is why everybody likes a cause and effect diagram or a fishbone diagram. Apart from that, it looks like a fishbone. So it is more attractive. So let us see how to draw it, how to use it, and when to use it. Okay. So as I told earlier, most of the tools are basic quality tools, which we must be aware of as engineers, as a management graduates. Everybody must be aware of these quality tools. Then only you'll be able to handle the quality issues and management issues very easily. So it will help you to find out the possible causes by sorting out all the causes into different categories. See, in brainstorming, we'll be hitting all the causes in a single sheet. So, but here we will be able to, Joshna calls. We will be able to categorize all the possible causes, whether it belongs to the manpower, whether it belongs to the machinery, whether it belongs to the marketing, whether it belongs to the sales. Everything will be sorted out into categories. So it will be easy for us to understand. See, apart from another thing is, it is developed by a man called Ishikawa. That is why it is also called as Ishikawa diagram or fishbone diagram. It looks in a fishbone structure. It looks like a fishbone structure. That is why it is called as a fishbone diagram. So let us see how you can draw this fishbone diagram, how you can develop this fishbone diagram. See, first you are going to write the problem. Okay, first you are going to write the problem on the right hand side. Then you have to draw a center line. Okay, that must be the center bone line for the fish. Then you have to write down the categories which may be connected with that particular problem. Okay, which may be connected. For example, if it is a customer dissatisfaction issue, then you have to write down whether it is a sales issue or the marketing issue or the product quality issue or the particular transportation issue. You have to write down all the categories one by one. See, generally, I have taken some 5 or 6 categories. But as per your organizational need, as per your company need, as per your institutional or firm need, you can choose the categories. There is no hard and fast rules for writing down the categories. Here I have chosen some general categories: method, materials, manpower, machine, environment. Next, you have to write down you have to draw down the connecting bones, side bones. Now you can see it looks like a fishbone, right? So after that, you have to find out the possible causes and sub causes for each categories. Under each categories, you have to find out the possible causes and sub causes. Okay, so you can use both this brainstorming and YY analysis. Using the brainstorming, you can find out all the possible causes. If you want to find out the exact root cause, the sub cause, you can use the YY analysis with that. So likewise, you can do it for all categories, for men, machine, materials, manpower, environment, everything. Okay, now you can see you are able to get all the root causes in a single frame, in a single page, in a single picture. So if you present this to a top management, to a next level superior, he will be very happy because he is able to understand things in a single page. He doesn't have to read it too much. You would have highlighted the important possible causes. So he will be he would have surprised, man, this much root causes are available. So we have to focus more on the maintenance. We have to focus more on the materials. So he'll be easier to get approval in the top with the top management guys if you present a fishbone diagram for the possible root causes. So this is how you can develop a fishbone diagram or a cause and effect diagram. Let us see a small example which we saw in the YY analysis. See, I said in YY analysis, we took a problem which my friend faced. He was late to the work. See, what are the possible categories which may be connected with that particular problem? There is a process happening in the morning when we are going to office, when you are going to company, there is a process happening in the morning. Some equipments are being used by us in the morning. Some consumables are used, that is materials. Some people are connected with us during our morning departure from home. There is an environment which is present during that particular morning session. See, let us see the process. See, we are setting the alarm clock in the late night. Okay, in the night to get up early. Setting the alarm clock is a process. We have to eat the breakfast. That is a process. We have to travel to the office. That is a process. We have to set off in time. We have to arrange things and set off in time from the home. That is a process. We are sharing the car. We are sharing the two-wheeler if required. That is a process. So likewise, you can add all the possible causes, which may be even connected with the problem by 1%. If you think that this cause may be connected with the problem by even 1%, that also should be there in the particular cause and effect diagram. Then if you take equipment, my friend is using a car. So car may be the reason. He is using a gas stove. Gas stove may be the reason. Suppose gas is not present, that is also a problem. He is using a pressure cooker, coffee machine, hair dryer. He is using alarm clock also for getting up earlier. That is also a problem. That may be a problem. So you have to include that. Then consumables, milk, coffee, rice, breakfast, electricity, whatever things he is using as consumables in the morning. If there is an electricity shortage, he may not be able to use a heater. He may not be able to use a hair dryer. So that may also be a reason for the late. So we have to jot down all the possible causes in the diagram. Then take the people. So his wife may be a reason. His children may be putting him some burden, may ask him something, and as a result of that, he may be diverted. As a result of that, he may be late. His previous day, his boss may have scolded him. So because of that, he may get a boredom, he may get a fatigue. Because of that, he may be late. His friends may come late to pick him up. That may be the reason. So likewise, we have to put down all the reasons that may be a possible cause, that may be a critical cause factor or a possible cause factor for that particular problem. Then if you take environment, if you are driving in cities, you know traffic is a huge problem. Sometimes road work happens, metro rail work happens, bridge work happens. That is a problem. Okay, then suppose if you have to cross a railway gate, sometimes if it closes, that's a huge problem. Traffic lights, if you are getting caught in the traffic lights regularly for the next 4 or 5 traffic, everything is over. You'll be late by 5-10 minutes. So here you can see all the possible causes are brought down across the paper. Okay, nothing is left. So now it is easy for you to find out which is the possible cause. Here you can see this is a simple problem. The problem is very simple. So we are able to say, sir, alarm clock is a problem. My friend is able to find out alarm clock is a problem. So setting the alarm clock and the equipment is problem. So you can ask a question, sir, whether the same possible cause may come under 2 categories. Yes, it can come. There is no restriction or no barrier for that. You can have the same causes. Here, alarm clock setting is a process. Alarm clock is a equipment, is a machine. So it can be written down under two categories. So likewise, we are able to sort out, we are able to jot down, we are able to write down all the possible causes in a single diagram, okay, which is relevant to that problem. After that, our team of experts can further discuss, analyze, and bring down the critical root cause or the exact potential root cause. Since this is a minor problem, we are able to identify. But when it comes to inventory problem or cycle time problem or customer issues, the problems will be more. Okay, the problem will be a larger one. So more categories will be involved, more sub-causes will be there, more possible causes will be there. There you definitely need a team of experts to write down all these things. Okay, this is how you can make a fishbone diagram. Any doubts in this, you can ask now, because we will clarify, we will clear your queries in the diagram itself. Any doubts now? So you can do it for, see, the type of categories can be added or removed as per your requirement. So your organization may have a different issues. You can add any type of categories like marketing, sales, transportation, logistics, quality control, whatever department or whatever categories you want, you can include in this fishbone diagram or cause and effect diagram. There is no restriction for that.
Yes, come on, green bells. Are there any questions with respect to cause and effect diagram? Yes, we can hear you.
Sir, I have a doubt.
Please.
Sir, by preparing the fishbone diagram, won't it be a little bit time consuming to find the root cause?
Come again. Preparing fishbone diagram.
Sir, by preparing the fishbone diagram, won't it be a bit time consuming for finding the root cause of the problem?
Yes, see, first of all, fishbone diagram is helping you to list down all causes. It is, see, though it is named as root cause analysis, it cannot directly give you root cause. It only drives you towards root cause. You see, Dr. Ravi has written so many things. Do you think all of them are root causes? No. All of them are possible causes, but he has categorized them into certain factors under people, certain factor under environment, certain under material, certain under equipment, certain under process. He has put all the factors in 5 different buckets. The resulting diagram is a fishbone diagram. If you consider only the 5 buckets, it's like a table with the 5 columns. Then it is called an affinity diagram. Why it is grouped? I get an idea whether I should work on equipment or I should work on process or I should work on material. It gives me direction. And within the process, alarm clock has been highlighted. Why it is highlighted? Because the brainstorming team members, they have a little strong suspect on it. Experts are telling that it is most of the time it is because of alarm clock. We need to understand, even now it is only a suspect. If you validate it, the suspect can become a root cause. So fishbone diagram gives all possible causes, and then the highlighted causes are nothing but the expert's opinion, stakeholders' opinion that this could go wrong. So you have list of possible causes, you have list of critical causes, but criticality has to be validated in the next step, which is hypothesis testing. It may be time consuming, but it is good spending the time because it is a much needed activity.
Can I come, sir? Can I come?
1 minute. Is that your question is answered, Ritam?
Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you, sir.
That question is answered, and now you can share.
No, I just want to give another example, please.
Yeah.
May I give?
Yeah, you can share your now.
Please note, suppose your father wants to marry your sister. He has a daughter, he wants to marry his daughter off. Then you know what will happen?
Good example.
He is going to give invitation to all the uncles. Yes or no? Even if one uncle is left out, there will be a problem. Therefore, you'll have a group discussion, have a fishbone diagram. That sort of probably that relation uncle should be called. This relation uncle should be called. All the uncles will be called. Even though it is time consuming, you will make all the preparation to see to it that no uncle is left out. All the uncles are called. Similarly, here also we want to have all the causes. No cause should be left out because later on that cause may be a very big cause for us. Thank you.
Okay, that is two wonderful explanations given by two experts. So I believe all your doubts would have been cleared. Okay, now we come to the end of this cause and effect diagram or fishbone diagram. So as I told earlier, it will help you to categorize the causes, and from there on, it will be easy for you to carry forward. Okay, so it is just a simple graphical representation of the possible causes, and it will be easy for our team to understand and move to the next level. Okay, for validating the root cause. So any doubts? I think all of them are clear. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for sharing. And thank you for your time. Now, I believe Dr. Siva, you can take over from here.
Thanks, Dr. Ravi, for doing it on time. Wonderful coverage of all the three modules which are assigned to you, right? The brainstorming, YY analysis, cause and effect analysis. Now, I want to give a useful tip to all the green belts here. Which tool should be used first, whether it is cause and effect diagram, or it is YY analysis, or it is brainstorming? Can I get an answer from the audience here, the green belts here? Which should be your first choice? Can I straight away go for cause and effect, or can I go for YY, or can I go for brainstorming? Which one should be used first if I really wanted to use them in my project?
So brainstorming, I feel should be first.
Sir, YY analysis.
No, Vivek,
Brainstorming.
answer is perfect. Brainstorming you need to do first. Ravi has taught you YY analysis. It doesn't mean that you can straight away start YY analysis. In order to ask you the question why, you must first have the opinion. All right. So brainstorming can be, the initial stage. And then if the results are coming out, you can use YY also. Why are you bringing YY? Because people are not talking in a vague manner. Some people are talking in a vague manner. For example, let us say the same training program. We want to enhance the training program, outcomes. What is the reason? When I ask, people may say it is online. Is it really online which is making the program ineffective, or is it something else? In my opinion, it is definitely something else. If the participants are seriously interested, in an online mode, you can learn 10 times better than a classroom mode. For one single reason that every minute is recorded. For one single reason that every minute is recorded, and every minute can be played again 10 times, and you can learn till you feel convinced about the particular topic. And then enough opportunities can be created for interaction. And if we kill all these options, and that is why your results are going down. So it's very important that you ask the questions, right questions, to convert the symptoms. See, online is not effective, it's a symptom, it is never a root cause. We are not able to effectively learn. It's a symptom that you are not interested in learning. It is not the root cause. If you understand the root cause is your curiosity to learn, your willingness to learn, your open-mindedness to equip yourself. If that is there, you can learn 10 times better than the classroom training in an online mode. There are a lot of convenience. You even don't have to go to your place. Just a smartphone can help you. Poor connectivity, my camera is not working, my audio is not working. These are all symptoms. The root cause is your mindset. So why questions are required, so that you can convert the symptoms into root causes. Take actions on root causes, not on the symptoms. Root causes deserve action. Symptoms deserve questions. You can only question why we are not able to participate well. Why am I feeling shy to open my camera? Why am I feeling shy to ask questions? Why am I feeling shy to attend additional classes to make best use of the program? You need to ask yourself, that's all. Those questions, why questions, can help you understand the root of the problem. So brainstorming followed with YY analysis gives you a list of causes. Definitely some of them are root causes. And now comes the fishbone analysis. Fishbone analysis is only visualization of the outcome of the brainstorming and the YY analysis. You visualize because people believe what they see. After the training program, if somebody asks me who has attended the training program from Wales University, I will only say Vivek Mahajan. That's all. I will only remember him. Because all through the program, I have only seen him. People don't do what they hear. People believe only what they say. Sorry, what they see. So, visualization is important. That is what your fishbone diagram is giving you. Since we draw it in the shape of a fish, it is called diagram. If you want to become a millionaire, you write in your walls, definitely you will become a millionaire. I am a millionaire. Such a statement, you will definitely become a millionaire. Wanted to buy a BMW, keep a photo of BMW in your bedroom. See it every day when you wake up and say, you just see the BMW and definitely you will buy the BMW. Logical? This is how problem gets solved. If you want your problem to get solved, you must make your people think about solving the problem. Fishbone diagram is only, visualizes. That's all. Still, you have one more responsibility. But Ravi has given a very useful tip. Some of the causes within the fishbone diagram were highlighted. How can he highlight? After the brainstorming is done, after the why analysis is done, limit your brainstorming with the limited number of people who can drive you in a very direct direction. Now it should be only subject experts. Now it should be the real problem facers. Now the number should be less. They can help you draw that border. They will help you to highlight certain factors. Every factor can be given a score. On a score of low, medium, high. Low means 3 mark. Medium means 6 mark. High means 9 mark. Every factor you assign a number. 369, 369, something like that. Now you have factor assigned with some number. You have factors, so many factors assigned with some number. Now you plot a Pareto. What will happen? The factors, those are having some large numbers, big numbers, will start appearing in the front. Your critical factors are now prioritized. Those factors that gets prioritized in your Pareto deserves deeper investigation. That deeper investigation is nothing but statistical hypothesis testing, which is a test of criticality. Is that helpful? Is that clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
So now we are ready to discuss about hypothesis testing. I think Dr. RK is also equally ready.